start. Really excited for tonight. This is our June version of transaction review and calculator practice. As you all know, there's my standard disclaimer. It's my opinion only. Always do your own due diligence and consult your trusted advisors. I am not an accountant or an attorney or anything like that. So just a couple special announcements before we get started. We want to welcome 2 new members. Our newest members are Rodney Evans. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. And Luis Santizo. I hope I said that right, Luis. You might be muted right now, but if you aren't, hey, Axel, can we unmute him so he can say hello? Luis?
Hello. Yes.
Hi, welcome. It's very wonderful to have you. How do you say your name? Luis or Luis or?
Luis in Spanish, Luis in English. I'm sorry.
So either way, you have a bilingual name. That's good.
Call me late for dinner.
Well, I'm very happy to have you. And at the end of this, I hope to get to know you a little bit more as we get into our presentation. But thanks so much for being with us. And I look forward to, I think you've already made an appointment for next Monday so we can get to know each other, correct?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. So I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I look forward to that. And I don't think Rodney is here this evening, but anyway, it's always exciting to add more people to the Queendom. I just finished a couple weeks ago. I was speaking at Invest Club for Women down in Irvine. That ended up being a really wonderful evening. Axel was there and recorded it, and he put the replay up on, it looks like that must be YouTube. So feel free to go listen to that if you, want to get a feel for how crazy and silly I can be. But anyway, I really love this topic, and it was so wonderful to have such great response and receptivity from the people in the room and everyone. A lot of people coming up and saying, hey, that really resonated with me. I love, what you're doing and why you do it. And I want to go forth and do likewise. So that's always a really feel-good thing for me. So go ahead and feel free to check that out. Now, in our brief calculator practice that we're going to do before we get started with one of our newer members, he's not brand new, but in the last 2-3 months, Lance, he's prepared a situation that we're going to work over for tonight. But before we get into that, this was inspired by his the conversation I had with him. Actually, so I'm just going to do a quick, because I think it brings up a good point. Lance has got some information for us later, and this may or may not be relevant. But one of the ideas we talked about, he's trying to close this deal. And he was, at least a week or so ago, there was a really tight timeline, a tight time crunch. And his regular hard money lender guys couldn't get the loan to come through in time because they needed, a certain sort of appraisal. But I said, you know what? You're the same guys that are doing your hard money loans should be able to buy a note, because it's actually 2 sides of the same coin. So what I want to do, just for an example, is just show you how easy it is. If you can work with people that you have a long-term relationship with, so much the better, because they know you, they trust you, you have reputation equity, you have, character equity, you have performance. They know that you do what you say you're going to do. They know you pay, they know you perform. So there's my perfect picture for people is that they can leverage their existing relationships and just teach them a few new tricks. So in this instance, let me just clear all. This is, for those who are new, this is my favorite HP 10B2 financial calculator by Innoday Development. It's the best $6 that you'll ever spend for your iPhone or Android. So please be sure to get that if you don't already have it. But in this case, let's just say, let's not worry about loan to value, but let's just say a $400,000 private money loan was in order. Okay, so that goes into PV here. And because it's interest only, a lot of the hard money loans or private loans are interest only. So all these 3 numbers I always put as positive, and these 2 negative. That's just the way I learn it and the way I keep track of it. There's more than one way to do it. But since the balloon or the future value is going to be the same as the present value or the loan amount, I'm going to put that as the future value because here's the principal amount of the loan, here's the balloon. And his hard money lender guy to do this loan wants 4 points, so 4%. So here's this recall button. Recall PV, so 400, he wants 4%, right? Everyone knows that's basically, a point is 1% of the loan amount. So times 0.04, so basically $16,000, right? So the hard money guy wants $16,000 as an origination fee. That's how he puts bread on the table. And he wants a 12.5% interest rate. And I'm going to put that in, and that goes into here, I/YR. That's, interest rate yield. There may, I'm not the master at this, but what I love, just so bear with me, all you got to know is basically these 5 buttons, and you can do the business. That's what I love. There's a lot of people that are super fantastic with, being a whiz at every little button. And there's a lot of videos, training videos, if you buy this app as well. So, and usually hard money is short term, right? Sometimes 6 months, 12 months, sometimes up to 2 to 3 years, rarely longer than that. But let's put 12. And the way my calculator's set up, it's in months. So 1 year times 12 months is 12. And I'm going to put that in N, which is our term. So I've put in this, and this. So anytime you have 4, you can solve for the 5th. So I'm gonna, what's the monthly payment, right? It's that just interest only on 400,000 is $4,166. Now I didn't have to use a financial calculator to get this. I could have just used a regular calculator and gone 400,000 times 0.125, right? 12.5, take the decimal over 2 points to the left. And that gets me $50,000 of interest per year. So I have to divide by 12 to get interest per month, and I get that same exact number, okay? So basically, so if Lance wanted to borrow 400,000 from his guys, which he's he's used to working with his friends, that he knows them and they know him, and his hard money guy would get $16,000 points, and my guess is that you're probably looking to make maybe up to $666 a month spread. So normally when people are doing private money or hard money lending, he's lending it out at 12.5, but he's probably paying his investors 10.5, maybe 11.5. I'm not sure. So let's just call it a 2-point spread. And so I would say, well, okay, hard money is going to get 16,000. Let's see what's left over. If I put 10.5, that's all they have to pay their investor, and they keep the 2-point spread. Now I'm going to solve for payment again. Okay, so for a $400,000, they get their investor to go in for $400,000, but they only have to pay him $3,500. And we know that Lance would be paying $4,100. So since this is already negative, I'm just going to add, I'm going to reverse 4,166 and change, right? So that's how I got up with the 666 monthly spread on the note. So that's pretty straightforward of private money. I think most people understand that. So what I was asking Lance is, I think, you don't have time to get the origination done, and your owner wants to sell. He's out of state already. He's under contract to buy another property. Just close this owner carry. And he goes, well, my hard money guys don't buy notes. I go, well, it's basically almost like originating a note. It's almost exactly the same. So here's how the numbers work like that, right? So if you could get the owner to carry back the note, just so you can close escrow, right? So the owner carries back a $400,000 loan. So we still have that in PV, right? We know, since we want the hard money guy to feel comfortable with this deal and buy it at par, meaning at face value, we made it at 12.5. We make the note so that they'll buy it without a discount, right? They're trying to make 12.5, so we're going to put that back in there. We make it so that it's the 12-month term they normally would have had. We still have 12 in our end. And of course we know, that balloon is 400, and we solve for here, and so we're back to this same number. So the monthly thing is exactly the same. But the only thing we don't have, right? We got this 666 still, but what we need is what? The broker is looking for that $16,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him, there's a recall button, PV or loan amount, present value or loan amount. So I'm not going to add 16,000 to this. I'm going to take away, so minus 16,000 that the hard money broker is going to want. So that hard money broker is going to get to buy this note for $384. And, he can keep the yield spread, and in that case, look, he'd be up at almost a 17% yield. But what he's going to do is get his investor, he's going to buy it for $384 or have it under contract for $384. Then he's going to wholesale it or assign the contract to his investor, just like he normally does when he makes a hard money loan. And we're back to the same, but so it's the exact same financial outcome for the hard money lender. It's just instead of going through the front door with an origination, he's going through the back door, or he's going through the secondary market, buying a note that gets created from the owner, but the net result is the same. And the reason you might want to do this is because it can get done so incredibly quickly. And so if the basic numbers work out in terms of loan to value and other considerations, this is a perfectly simple way so that if you have any private money people in your world that you have a good relationship with, there is no reason why they can't also buy notes. It's such a natural thing for people in the money business to be able to do. So let's just open up the lines. Does that make sense to everyone? Let's open up the lines if there's any questions or comments. Because it's just, if you just learn how this works, it's not like rocket science. It's like the hard money guy saying, no, I only originate loans, I don't buy notes. Well, all you're doing is taking an assignment of this owner carry note. But because you're buying it at a discount, and then you're bringing in your investor, you still make your 16 grand, you still make your yield spread. It's just a slightly different way to put the deal together. So any comments? Can we?
Yeah, I have a question. Typically, hard money lenders are not in communication or not in dealings, but for so long, like 6 months to a year. So, I mean, what, you're just trying to sell this off just to make a profit?
No, but see what we did here in this case, and thanks for your question and bringing this up. It's really valuable. Thank you. Although we did have a little problem with your audio, so just bear with us on that. But what I tried to do is, because of the speed of the deal, I tried to make this note exactly like what the hard money guy would already originate for himself. That way he should have no trouble buying this in a simultaneous close. Like later, same day, next week, something like that, whatever it is. He should have no trouble. He should be able to originate a loan for $400,000, or he should be able to buy a $400,000 note with these same terms for $384 and still get the net thing. The only thing that I'm trying to impress here is when there's a time crunch, when the seller's saying you're going to lose your earnest money deposit if you don't close this week. This can be a way, and I'm not saying, for every situation this makes sense, but the thing that was a concern for me in Lance, Lance has got a lot of depth of relationships with his hard money people, and his comment that, oh, they don't buy notes, and I go, why not? Why wouldn't they? Can you see any reason why a hard money guy couldn't do either side of this deal? They can originate it or buy a note that they would have originated at a discount and still get their 16,000 points plus their yield spread. All I'm trying to make a point of here, it's still the same thing. It's still private money and everyone's, getting out pretty quickly. It's just I want to show that front door, back door, it's, a primary mortgage market, secondary mortgage market, it's the same thing. Like you should be able to easily flip between the two. And does that make sense, Kyoka?
Kind of, but what's the end result for both the person who's holding a note and the hard money lender?
Yeah, because see, we created this owner carry note to match the terms that the hard money guy, if time permitted, would already write for himself. We didn't create a 30-year note. We created a note that's identical to the payment terms that a hard money guy would originate in the first place. So everyone's getting the exact same thing. It's just instead of as an origination, it's by assignment, but it's the same net process for everyone. But great question. Any other comments? Because I think, it can be hard. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how these things fit together. And I love questions.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah.
The one part that is actually missing, I figured out along the way, was the contract price. What the owner was expecting to get was $400, and if he's originating and giving the discount, then he's the one who's losing $16,000.
But you're very right. In this case, and when you do a hard money loan, the buyer, like in this case, Lance, you would have brought $16,000 just for example, you would have brought $16,000 as closing costs. It would have come out of your pocket. In this situation, the $16,000 came out of the seller's pocket, but you had told me that you had worked in a $25,000 pad, that you had some wiggle room there. So we could make the seller's net amount equal the same as if it was an origination. So remember that? You told me you had $25,000 of kickback sort of that you had to work with.
The solution actually that I came up with was I just paid for his realtor costs. The realtor cost, the 5%, I just paid for it. And it was pretty close to the number that we needed to cover for him, and took care of the discount.
Right. So what you do, and that's fantastic. So what you did is go, here is the net seller's sheet. At the end of the day, okay, our contract price is $525,000. At the end of the day, if we would have closed according to our original plan and our original contract, if my loan would have come through on time as expected, seller is only gonna, let's just say it's equal to the 25,000, right? He's expecting to net 500,000. So we don't care how we get it, whether you pay his closing costs like you just said, that's fantastic, or you pay a little more for the property to make it up to him. All the seller's really going to need is that net. And if you can show him, look, Mr. Seller, I know this is a little unconventional, another step involved. If you'll work with me here, I can still get you the 500. Remember, we talked about maybe you could even pop him an extra 5,000 and say, look, if you'll work with me on this, I'll give you 505 at closing. How does that work for you? So anyway, I just thought this, I think that's a fantastic point to bring up, Lance, because with originations, the cost of getting the money is heavy for the borrower, the buyer borrower. When a seller has to sell a note to recap, to walk away with cash, they're the ones that suffer the burden of the financing if they have to liquidate, right? Unless we do it like this, where it matches what a hard money lender would buy. So the discount's going to be minimal. Maybe you would have said, hey, I'm going to make the loan, $416,000. You'll just make your debt service a little heavier, but you'll still net everyone out, right? And your payment would go up by a couple $100 a month. So that's another way you could have done it to still net the seller the same amount, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, actually. The interesting part was I couldn't. What turned out to happen was we put together a lease option, and in order to give us the time to close on it regularly was what we ultimately decided. But the idea was great. But I found that my lender, he couldn't figure it out because he had to sell his investors on it, and there was a problem with the appraisal, which so he wasn't sold on the deal anyway. But in my desperation, I called around and talked to some other note buyers, and the difficulty with the note buyers was the table funding. That the no seasoning on the note was the issue, that it seemed that you would need to find somebody that your buyer would have to be like a true investor that is just looking at the yield, and they understand that you've done your due diligence. It's already underwritten. It's the same as a hard money loan.
So yes, that's a great point. I'm really glad you brought that up, because the only way that this example here presumed that there's no problem with loan to value. So let's just say, Lance, give me a conservative, what's the loan to value, max loan to value you guys are looking for?
Set on a residential, 70.
Okay, all right, so we know that if you need a $400,000 loan, I'm going to divide this by 70% or 0.70, right? Move the decimal 2 places. This needs to appraise for 571 or better, right?
Yes.
And if it does, whether they're originating or buying a note, the underwriting still makes sense, because when you do an origination, there's no seasoning, right?
Yeah.
Origination.
That was the weird part. What's the difference if you're a note buyer or a hard money lender?
Okay, so what needs to happen is what I like about the people that already know you is that they already know you. They've done deals with you. They know you pay, they know you get into deals and you intend to make money and not lose money. So that's why it's better to talk these people into it, because it's so freaking the same. Because here it is, like when a hard money lender, a lot of times they'll fund a loan first, right? They get a deal, they fund the loan, and it might take them 1 or 2 weeks to assign the note to one of their investors, correct?
Yeah.
So that investor is taking the note by assignment anyway, whether it's from the broker or from an owner carry note that was crafted exactly like a hard money lender would normally do. What is the difference? That's the point. The only thing that I would, for the table funding, the only consideration, considering that the loan to value is there, if the note buyer and the hard money guys have the same, hey, 70% max loan to value, whatever, 12 and a half, 10 and a half, 12 months, blah, blah, blah. If that piece is in place, the value, the collateral, and that they're not, they should be able to wear either hat. Now, the only thing with table funding that would be an extra concern, not in this case, because this is an investment property, this is a business purpose loan, right?
Yes.
But if it's more like a consumer loan, like an owner carry to an owner occupant, some people don't want to do table funding until there's been 1 or 2 months of payments, because then they can't be confused as a sort of lender in disguise. They let one payment, maybe 2, go by, and then they buy the note. So it was clear that they did not finance it, and then therefore we're not subject to Dodd-Frank rules about originations. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Is that clear to everybody? Anyone else? Did what I just said make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because that's a subtle difference where it took me a while to go, well, who cares? It's an assignment. Well, if you buy that note 2 hours after it gets created, it's easy to say you were just disguising the sale of the note. And sometimes I'm not, depending on the numbers, like if this property is worth $1 million, I don't have to worry about doing a $400,000 loan. I don't need to pull credit. I don't need to do any of that stuff, right? Because the security is so great. Let's say it's worth $1 million and Lance put down $600,000 and he just needs $400,000. Now that's kind of a brain dead deal that it would be hard to pass up, and I would buy that note in a second at funding, number one, because it's so secure. Number two, it's a business purpose loan. He's considered a, reasonably sophisticated investor. I'm not going to cross any Dodd-Frank lines there. So depending on the situation, it can make a ton of sense, or you might want to run screaming. It just really, depends on what the particular situation is. So Any other comments or tangents to this that make sense that we could address before I get into the slides that Lance sent, or the numbers that Lance sent over?
I don't know. I find it hard to see where there's profit in for the buyer.
For the
The
buyer?
buyer is, yeah, the buyer is using a hard money lender, and I see where his profit at because of the points he's getting and the interest that you have to pay him back. I see his profit, but I don't really truly understand what a buyer profit is.
Okay, that's what we're about to discuss. That's a great segue into into us how to train your hard money broker to buy notes. So really, this should be a great thing that you do to cultivate your relationships, because it's so much easier to work with someone who already knows you, right, and trusts you, than to some random note buyer or someone named Note Queen or something like that. You don't want to have to trust that. So, all right, so this is Lance's numbers. Okay, I see what you did here. You wrote in, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay, so
I hand wrote the specific numbers.
okay, fantastic. So basically, Lance, this was your deal that we were talking about while I was on vacation a little bit. So 500,000 plus closing costs, build out, rehab. So just tell us about this a little more. I know, remind us what your deal is here. Just give us a walnut-sized recap of what you were trying to accomplish.
Sure. It's a triple net lease. We already have the tenant occupy the property. We just need to purchase it and build it out for what she's going to use it for. But the purchase price is fine, which is an assisted living facility.
So this is an RN who is already successfully running, what, one or two other facilities?
She's got one right now.
One, okay. For what, 2-3 years, and she's doing great?
Yeah, doing well, and she's in the city, and she doesn't get real high numbers for her current facility. It's a 4-bed, and I think the property appraises for around 100. And she was looking to expand into a bigger facility, but kind of shoestring into the idea. But the business is pretty lucrative. She's a valuable asset, and with a little bit of effort, we could buy her a much bigger space in the county, and it's a 10-bed facility. She gets much higher returns per bed. It worked out pretty well for both of us. But it's triple net, and the idea is to give it right back to her, just to help her to buy it and sell it to her within the first year.
Right. So what we know, okay, so before we get into the numbers of your spread, because before you buy it, you already have your disposition, you already have your end occupant, right? So we already know that you are feeling like this is an excellent thing for you to do. Based on that, you need 550,000. You say, gosh, I got 150,000 disposable cash right now. I want 50. I don't know. So anyway, you're $450,000 shy, right? So even that 400 would be a little light for you, right? But if it was the difference between, losing or keeping the deal, you could probably squeak somewhere.
Originally I was planning on putting all of it in, and you said to me that keep some in reserve was where the 450 came from.
Right. So you want some reserves, but someone that's just a neutral third party wants you to have significant skin in the game, like probably 25 to or 30 to 35% down is a typical sort of expectation for private money, right? For the hard money guys.
Yeah, and that was the part about the appraisal that we had the triple net lease in place, and if we did the math backwards to a 7% cap, the value on the property was $810.
Right. So let's just pull that up for people. So basically, what you did is now on this page, does it say how much she's buying it for?
The next slide shows you the end, what you're about to do.
Okay. So total cost. She's going to be in it for basically. You're going to charge her $681.
Yeah, whatever our total cost for the project plus 20% is her starting point for her buyout. Whatever that starting point is, her buyout agreement is an amortization schedule that matches a 30-year loan at 7.5%.
Okay, so here's what you said. You know, Miss RN, what's a good name for her?
Anya.
Zelda. Zelda or something like that. Okay, basically you're saying, look, all in to create the solution for this person who has the ability to create a lot of cash flow. You're saying, I just want this plus 20%, right? So let's see if I can duplicate that. I'm going to times 1.2, 120%. Let's see if that gets the right number. It does. Okay, so you're saying I want a 20% premium on the cash that I've, you know, or the solution that I've created, and that's how much it's cost everybody, right? So then you're going to use that as your present value. And then it's going to be, you said at 7% or 7.5%?
7.5.
And this is a fully amortized?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then I'm going to put, that means there's no balloon, so I'm going to put 0 in future value. And then, and the term, I'm sorry, was it 30 or 20? How many years?
30 year.
So 360 months, 30 years times 12. So we're going to solve for her monthly payment. So she's going to be paying $47.65, right? And the point is, now that more than covers your hard money that you were looking at. If you had to go that route, at least this covers it, right? And she doesn't have any down payment, you were saying. She doesn't have big cash now. She just has the ability to be a cash cow, right?
Yeah. The idea to keep your money for working capital.
Okay, so based on this money that what now? So Kioka, going to your point, really, you're saying what's the profit? The profit is the difference between 681,000 and 568,000, right? Plus interest, and I don't know what other spread you may or may not have worked out, but if I do recall this, minus 568. So for your trouble, even if she cashed you out from day one, you get to make 113,000, correct?
Yes.
And that's what, and let's say you put out 150 of your own cash, right? So at the end, you get this back. And what we're assuming is this number is going to happen because you have her primed for an SBA loan within the next 6 months, right?
Yes. If anything goes wrong, the backup plan is I could refi the loan into like a
convention. But the thing you ran into was a time crunch because you needed to get a commercial appraisal instead of based on the cash flow of the property versus just the residential price, right? That's the problem we ran into.
Yeah, I was a little panicked, yes.
Right. Okay, so I just want to see cash return, and you think this could happen, let's pretend 6 months. So Lance does all this dancing. He's found the deal. He puts the private money together, and he's got 150 of his own cash tied up in one way or another. He gets, let's pretend no payments. We can see there's a little spread there, but let's pretend no payments even. And let's just say, when 6 months from now, you get a lump sum payment of this, your 150 back, right? Plus the 113. Does that make sense? Right? And I wonder what your yield would be. So your yield is above, you're basically, more than doubling your money there, right? So it's a great thing. You're almost doubling your money in half of a year. So this is why Kioka, it makes sense for him. Any other questions that people have for Lance?
But Dawn,
Yes.
the other option is if she isn't interested in or isn't eligible to, we didn't get the SBA thing, I could turn the lease option into a owner finance and she just keep it.
Right, so what you do is refinance it and then do a wrap with her or a lease option deal. Right?
Yeah, that would be the idea.
Right, so what, this hard money thing that we thought we were dancing with, that's expensive for you. What do you think the financing is with a little time that you could get?
We're working on a 4.5 and 30-year fix.
Okay, 30-year fix, so I'm gonna put 360 in here. Oops.
Well, I'm gonna get my cash back, so it's
Well,
the
yeah, hold on. So basically that commercial appraisal, tell me again that cash flow, how you figured out your 7% cap
well
rate.
it's a triple net under my handwriting, the 476585. That's the rent payment. So if
Well,
the
but okay, so you're just saying, all right, so what we're doing is taking what she's paying you, the 4765, and times 12, right?
yes,
So, and then divided by how much,
cap 7 is
so
conservative.
divided by 0.07, and then
Yes,
you expect a commercial appraisal to be over 800,000.
easily, yes.
Okay, so then what loan could you get if she doesn't get an SBA loan to execute at the 681? What will you be able to do here?
I could refi right below her buyout and set the amortization schedule right below her buyout.
All right, so how much money could you get if it appraises for 816 like you're thinking? What's the loan to value on this other deal if you have the time to put it together?
The loan to value, I think you can get pretty high, up to 80, but we're capped by what her buyout figure is.
All right, so let's just say it is 80. So let's say 653. So in this case, you're not only not having to tie up your 150,000, you're actually beyond your contract price or everything. What did we decided it was 568, right?
Yeah.
So basically you're doing a cash out refi, and instead you're putting $85,000 into your pocket, right? And instead of having money stay out for very long, you get all your money back. It's not hanging out there, right? And then what was that again? 563. And you think you can get it at 4.5?
Yeah. 4.5 is what we're talking about.
And fully amortized. So I'm going to put this to 0. Does this represent the loan you think you are pretty sure you can get?
We might take it 20, but yeah, pretty close to that.
Okay, so basically now what we've got is how much cash, if he does this scenario, how much cash does Lance have left of his own in the deal?
You said 150.
He put in 150 maybe originally, but like if he gets this loan in the next 2 weeks, but you did a lease option, so you haven't closed, right? So if you get this loan, you have 150 you could use, but what's going to happen instead?
We're signing a lease option with the seller, and we have to put down 14,000 for the earnest money or the security deposit.
Okay.
And he was annoyed, so the rent is 7,000 a month to motivate me to get out of it.
Okay, so to get the seller to play ball and give you time to pull this together, you got 14,000 out of pocket and 7,000 a month. That's a big pop, right? But you have 150,000 that you could work with. So if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks or even 2 months, you can still do this deal, right? So basically, you're putting out maybe up, let's say 2 months it takes you 15,000 and 14,000. Let's say it costs you 30,000 to carry this, right? But at the end of the day, you get a $563,000 loan, and you only owe the guy $525,000, right? And we're not even talking build out. Right?
Yeah, the price didn't change. It's still 500, 25 to closing cost, 25 for build out, 15 for carrying.
Okay, so then let me just erase. I love this little back button. I do that a lot. Okay, contract, he's walking away net-ish, right? So basically, when you close, yes, you've had to have money to get him to take, to hang out. You gave him an option fee and you're paying him $7,000 a month. But when you close, are you putting out any more money out of your pocket? Or did I do the math right? Did I do the math right on that?
If you move the calculator to the side of the screen, you can see underneath that her buyout's 681.
Right.
And as
Oh,
long
yeah,
as
yeah. I transposed these numbers. So it's, it's 653 was the number, right? 653 was 80% of the $800,000 appraisal.
yes, so we
Okay, so that's your loan amount. When you close escrow, you're going to get a cash out because instead of putting money in as a down payment, you're getting a cash out because the property appraises at 816,000 or whatever we said. You only owe 500,000 to your seller. So basically, you have 153,000. Of course, this is going to be diminished by closing costs, your build out, or whatever, right? So, how much money is out of your pocket, Lance?
it's an additional 65. So 153 minus 65.
There's no money out of your pocket, right?
Well,
Because
we do have to pay for we get the security deposit back. We do have to pay the rent for a couple of months, and we do have to build the property out for her.
right, but I'm saying, look,
Afterwards, no.
didn't you just tell me that the only out of pocket right now is a $14,000 option fee?
To take possession of the property, yes.
Okay, so and 7,000 a month. So let's say it even costs you 3 months. So how much are you into it now?
Well, I still got to build it out for her. I still got to put in the sprinkler system, do that stuff.
Well,
I guess 25 for that.
My point is though, if you close with a loan, that pays for all of it. Anything right? So you actually have zero out of your pocket. You're not putting a down payment. You're getting money out of the loan, correct?
Yeah, it's way better. Yes.
I mean, seriously, this is a cash out refi. This is a zero down. It's not really zero down because for a short time you had to put out $14,000 option fee. But you get this back as soon as you get this loan funds, you get this back. So now you have to minus, okay, 25,000 closing costs, minus, it's got to pay me back the 14,000. The build out 25,000. I can't remember what you said exactly. I apologize. 2 months at 7,000, another maybe 3 months, another 21,000. Well, at that point, when the loan funds, the guy's paid off anyway. I mean, there's going to be no, maybe you have, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say maybe you pay it once, right? Hopefully you get this loan to come through pretty quick. But so basically you're still left like with 80 grand. So all of your money is back in your pocket the day you close this. So, how long would this thing take? Maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months? What do you think?
60 days, 60 to 90 days.
So maybe you pay another 14,000, but this is money already in your pocket from the loan. Or, it gets you put it out, but it's coming back to you. So even after you recap all your costs, am I wrong? To close this deal, won't you pocket $68,000 ish?
Yes.
And then in the meantime, you're collecting from her $47.65 and all you owe on that loan. So let's get this back. Recall payment. So there's the payment you owe on the loan, and she's paying you $47.65 a month. So your positive cash flow is $1,900, right? And even worst case scenario, she doesn't get that SBA loan and cash you out. That's, if that's considered worse, but like if you can, keep that loan from getting called, the only risk to this is if, they don't like the arrangement and they call your loan for some reason. But let's pretend that's not on the table, times 12. You're making $23,000 a year times 30 years. If it went full term, you got 68,000 in your pocket just to do the deal. You got paid to put it together, and then you get 10 times that back over the next 30 years, totally passive income. Am I getting it?
Pretty much. The other option, you could drop the amortization schedule to a 20.
Right. So it pays a lot quicker, and then that just, what you're saying is,
You lose a little bit of cash flow monthly, but the amount of interest that you pay over the 20 years and the amount that she pays over 30 years is pretty crazy.
oh, you mean the amortization on the underlying?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So if you did this, you changed 20 years, 20 times 12 is 240, 4.5%, or is it better for a 20-year am?
What was it? What was the question?
Sometimes a shorter am is a better interest rate.
It's the same. Maybe a quarter better or something, but
Okay, so the point you're making, okay, my spread, let me add her 4765, my spread, now it's only, instead of 1900, it's only 1200, so I'm losing, quote unquote, 700 in cash flow for 20 years. But what happens that last 10 years? You get the whole payment times 120. Oh my gosh, right? 1200 a month for 20 years, and then 4700 a month for the last 10 years after that. Now that's a way, number one, you're already starting with infinity return because none of your own money is left in this deal. Yes, your brains, your negotiation skills, your sweat equity, whatever, relationship building, but your own cash is out. You got paid to put this thing together, and this is killer. I mean, how many of these do you need to do to be able to retire?
You don't want me to answer that, do you?
I think you should. No, I mean, this is just the way to think of it, because so that is a way that if you can make this fly, and there's no bugs in it, this is astounding. You get paid to put the deal together from the beginning, and then you just create passive income out of thin air while you're giving this nurse the chance to expand her business and do what she does best. She's not a financial she's not a financial whiz, right? She just has her passion and her skills and what she does. She's good at
it. The great part is that the average bed is $4,500 a month, and she's got 10 of them. So one bed pays for her rent.
Okay, 40. So one bed. This is a 10-room house, right? It's really unique property, correct?
Yeah. 10 beds, 7 bathrooms.
Okay, so times 10. This is her potential cash flow, $45,000 a month. Do you think that'll change her life? How much do you think her operating costs are, her NOI, before debt service?
Not that much, actually. The pro forma says that ours is definitely the biggest expense, but she doesn't run it's a psych facility, so she doesn't need RNs, so it's really surprisingly low.
So she just needs psych techs and a lot of straitjackets.
Yeah, and patience.
45. That let's just pretend like it's a regular. Let's say she keeps 65% of, what did I say? 45,000 a month. Let's say she keeps 65% of that. Let's say she has 35% expenses. She gets 29,000 a month. She owes you 47.65 a month. Of course, she's going to have taxes and insurance, but hopefully that's part of that 35%. I don't know. But still, do you think a nurse can live on 24,000 a year? Even if it's half that, can she live on that? I mean, 24,000 a month times 12. This is what she keeps ish. That's nice, right? That seems like a pretty win-win for everybody. So thanks for bringing this to the table, Lance. I really appreciate it. And you'll have to keep us posted as to how it works out. Is there anything more you were hoping from the group around this particular deal tonight?
No. I think that was it for that deal.
Okay, well, great. So we're almost at the end of our hour, and I wanted to say hello to Luis. Luis, will you just introduce yourself and let us get to know you a little bit?
Yes, I'm a carpenter turned rehabber, and I haven't been able to find anything lately. So I just created my own. I'm doing home inspections now.
Okay, so you have a contractor's license?
No, I do not, but I am certified through Internachi.
Okay, you're a carpenter, did you say?
Yes,
Excuse me. Okay, great. So you're like, the work is a little slow. Where are you?
I'm in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh, you're in LA. Okay. And so work has been kind of slow. So now you are doing home inspections. And did you network with realtors for that or?
Oh yeah, I go to. As a matter of fact, that's where I heard about you through the Women's Network. I go. I give my cards out, and they call me up for inspections, and then I heard about you. That's how I got to know you.
Well, fantastic. So what are you hoping for? So you found us, and what's your trajectory? What's your perfect picture about what you're trying to build and do?
I'm trying to get out of the physical part of the business, the rehabbing and flip, more into
Hmm.
the note side. I see the potential. You can buy. I mean, you can sell a property 3 times over and make all different kinds of cash flow.
Yeah, so fantastic. Are you looking now, have you been doing a lot of fix and flips or you're just looking to get into it or
No, yeah, I've done about 3 for myself, and
uh-huh.
and I built about 8 custom homes for other investors.
Oh, I got you. I see. I see. So you're like, how can I just get more of a piece of this same type of action without working so darn hard?
Exactly, that's where I'm at.
How old are you, Luis?
I'm 50.
You're 50. Yeah, it's about this time you start going, I'm not sure I can do this forever. In fact,
Exactly. Yeah, I thought I was gonna
my
be young forever, but
that's fantastic. In fact, my brother who is he is 40, he just turned 47. And he's been in the building trade since, his early 20s. And I am so happy. And he's a very skilled worker, he's a very hard worker, but down in Orange County where he was living, basically he was, living paycheck to paycheck down there. And I'm so happy I was able to seduce him to move up here because I need good labor so desperately. And so, number one, he can be my project manager. And of course, he's still got a lot of years of swinging the hammer in him or whatever I need. He's excellent at a lot of things. But what he's excited about is, what we do in our business is, yeah, there's manual labor involved, but what we're doing is building passive income. And he goes, I really like that idea. Starting to build equity because he says, in 10 or 20 years, I just might not want to be doing anything, getting on my knees, carrying heavy stuff on my back, all this kind of thing. And so, one of the first things I did is just say, hey, I've got this mobile home project going on. I'm going to give you this one that hasn't been rehabbed fully, give you a good deal on it. You can either stay there and live there for almost, whatever space rent is for the park, or you can fix it up and flip it. And you can either, pocket $10,000 or you can carry paper and you can make $200-300 a month just passive. And that's only one example. I mean, other properties that we're going to buy and hold, he can get instead of getting paid a lot of money up front, he can keep, it's more joint venture where we're going to share in, I am feel like I died and gone to heaven having today. Actually, he arrived in Carson City as his new home, and I'm just thrilled to death. So,
good for you.
yeah, and so you are in a position where, hey, I'm circling around all this money. How do I get a lot more of it to be passive? So, what do you think your low hanging fruit is? How do you get started?
How do I get started
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, like what's your idea? Like I
Oh,
joined this thing about notes, and
I
what's
mean,
your idea right now about it?
right now, I just thought about this. There's a house in Bakersfield for 55,000, and
Uh-huh.
then be the bank.
Great. So you'll just put up the cash to acquire it?
Pretty much, or get somebody to help me put
Okay.
up the
So
cash.
is 55,000 acquisition and rehab, Is
No.
this your all-in? What's your
No,
all-in price?
all in, I would say about 70.
So you're all-in for 70. Okay, then what are you going to be able to sell it for?
About 120.
Okay, so you could flip it for 50,000 minus carrying costs minus closing costs, right? So
Yes.
it might be 30. There's
Right.
30,000 you could clear, and now if that 70,000 is patient money and not, remember, hard money is impatient and expensive. If you can
Uh-huh.
get patient, cheap money, like someone who's wants to take their money out of the CD in the bank at 1 or 2%, whatever it is, or savings account at 0.25% interest. If it's patient money, then you're going to do a lot better. Like if you put up all the money, then we'll split the proceeds 50-50. So, I do the deal. So let's say you sell it for 120, and let's say you're going to take, how much of a down payment would you try to get or think is reasonable?
I would get about maybe 10%.
At least. Okay, so then we're going to minus 10%, which is $12,000. Or we could have said times 90, and we'll get 108. What do you think a fair interest rate is?
I would say about 6.5, 7.
Okay, let's say 7. I think that's a fair private money rate. And let's do 360. And how much would this property rent for? To me, this looks like a very reasonable number. It looks like someone could afford this, taxes and insurance, and they're still ahead of what they'd rent the same property for.
Right. I would say about $900.
Right. So this is a good number. Someone who can afford this, right? It's
Yes.
for owning for 12,000 up front. So then once you sell it, you don't have taxes, insurance, and maintenance. So here's the money that's on the table for you guys to split, right? I'm going to make this a positive number. So you found the deal, you did all the sweat equity, you found the buyer. So for the money person who put up $70,000 for acquisition and rehab, you divide it by 2. This is a pretty common thing. So they'll get $359, and you'll get $359 a month for the next 30 years or whatever. Maybe you put in a 5. Depends on who the buyer is, but you could have a balloon or not. But if you're willing to go this route, there's you getting $359 passive income out of thin air with no money out of your own pocket. Of course, it's effort, right?
Yes.
Effort and skill and education. But how many deals would you need like that per month to feel comfortable that your basic expenses were covered on a passive basis?
I would say about 3 to 4.
See, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Like four deals, you kept your expenses low. If you can just do this 4 times, you're free. Is that what you're saying? Then
Yes.
you get to play. Then you get to do what your passion is, right? And
Yes.
let's see if it's a good deal for the investor. So if they get $359 times 12, if they get $4,300 a year divided by the amount that they put out, $70,000. They're making a 6% return. Is that better than what they're making in a savings account at the bank?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, by a lot, right? By anywhere from 5 to 30 times the amount they're probably making on their money just sitting in the bank. So plus you guys are going to have depreciation and potentially future appreciation, right? So
Right.
That's fantastic. I know we're going to talk more on Monday. So before we hang up, this has been an awesome call. I really appreciate everyone here. Any other things from our members? Kyoka, do you have anything more to say? Or I think I don't know who's
No.
left. Are we all good? Is this a wrap?
I really enjoyed the call.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you.
I really enjoyed the call.
Thank you so much, Kyoka. Thanks for being such a consistent member. And Kanisha, I see your name too. Always great to have you on. So we're going to wrap this up. Look forward to our next event, which is, Axel, I think we're virtual happy hour is next or something like that. But anyway, thanks again. Now use your powers for good and go out there and create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. Thanks again for your time. I'll catch you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. See ya.